afternoon. Welcome to the Oil Stream. Tom Gazzola, Hernan, Salas, and a dancing YouTube Trev with you here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Hope you're enjoying your Friday. I know we are. Good vibes around the offices and studio, despite our provider issues, which we did get an update on, ladies and gentlemen. If you've been frustrated by the stream cutting in and out like we have been, we have become a high priority for the provider. And we have a tech coming in. And it's not just affecting us, but a bunch of businesses around this part of town. So if you're like, what the hell's wrong with those guys? Pay your bills. We do. And the service we've been getting has not been up to snuff. I'll just say it. Ridiculous, says YouTube, Trev.
Yeah, we got lucky last night because it worked out. Post-game show was flawless.
Did it cut out at the end?
No, that was pregame.
That was pregame. Yeah.
I blame Trev.
I blame Trev, too. It's the easy thing to do. We're also in a good mood because Twitter Mary dropped off some great treats.
Thank you.
Fresh-baked cookies and cupcakes. Thank you, Twitter Mary. And a lovely note. And they come in the boxes, and they have the sticker.
Yeah.
Peanut-free.
Peanut-free.
Or nut-free. And I did offer some to Reed Wilkins. People are still all over me. They called me a villain yesterday on the morning show.
They did?
I didn't know. Don't look at me like that. Anyway, text us 780-218-9999. Get into the nasty chat as we go through a lovely Friday edition of the Oil Stream. Of course, a big shout out to our partners over at Boston Pizza, and we're going to be live on location, Dusty and I, next week at the Kingsway location, YouTube Trev's old stomping grounds. Boston Pizza, go check them out. Fresh beers on tap, delicious meals on special at all times over at BP. All right, Hernan, the Oilers have back-to-back victories. They get their first win on the road in their first road game. The test gets tougher tomorrow afternoon in Dallas, but like we said on the postgame show last night, there's things that we're liking about their game, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. The best they've looked 5-on-5 for sure. So that's a positive. Pickard went last night, so Skinner should be nice and fresh. PK a little bit better. They leaked one yesterday, but all in all, I think the Oilers are finding their game. If you're looking at their games from the first one to the fifth one, the goals against are coming down, finding their groove defensively. So tomorrow's going to be a good test. Dallas Stars started off 4-0, lost last night 3-2 to Washington, so they're going to looking to get back in the win column right away. But I kind of like that because they might be there for the taking tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock. So I'm intrigued by this game. They got a really good team. Ottinger fresh off signing an extension in that top line. I think yesterday was Hintz, Robertson, and Wyatt Johnson, which is pretty deadly. Line. So looking forward to the game. And the Oilers, yes, they are trending upwards. And if they can pick up that win, then I can officially say they're back.
Oh,
Trev, keep my headphones up a bit.
Spicy. That was a hot. They're back. Text us your thoughts on the team, how it's coming around. They're back, according to the Latino Heat.
No, I said if they win tomorrow.
Oh, if they win tomorrow, they're
Don't
back.
listen to me. I picked Nashville to win yesterday. So
you did pick Nashville to win. I love how people called you out for that and the Calvin Pickard thing. You're like, this is a terrible decision.
Yes,
they're never going to win. And they won, and Pickard played good, picking up his first ever victory in his career over the Nashville Predators. He was 0-4 going into that one against the Preds, and Reed was talking about it too on the pregame show. Like, they have, I think, a schedule set out for their goalie starts. Obviously, we will see Stu Skinner, who's had 2 good starts in his last couple of outings, I would say. Very solid. There were people yesterday on the post-game show talking about Skinner and the first Michkov goal. I get it. Like, be stronger on your post. There's still others that are like, that's goalie interference. You can't just jam a guy's pad into the net with the puck. I personally disagree with. I like it. You're battling for the puck. If it's under the pad, okay, I understand.
Yeah,
got it covered. But if it's like a 50-50 puck and you jam the pad or the glove and it's not covered, fair game to me at least.
I'm with you, and I said the same thing. I thought it was a good goal. If it was reversed and that was the Oilers, I would have said the same thing because the puck is still there. It's not like he had it covered up. They were both battling for it. So for me, that was a good goal. And Stuart Skinner, 2-2 lifetime against the Stars. So tomorrow, anything could happen.
I think we're in for a good game. If they get the win tomorrow, I will be right because I predicted a 2-0 road trip. This is a team that should be able to go into every game expecting to win, regardless of the opponent. Not disrespecting the opponent, just being like, no, we're good enough to beat these guys. They did that yesterday to a Nashville team that continues to struggle, 0-4 on the season. And Jonathan Marchessault gets his first goal as a Pred. I thought that was a great play. I was asking Joaquin Gage about it. I was like, is that a Pickard thing? Like he was cheating and he wasn't on his post? Or how do you look at it? He goes, was there a guy on the far side? I said, yeah. He goes, well, Marchessault batted that out of the air. That was just a really nice goal by a good goal scorer.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I understand. And then he's like, well, who's the defenseman going back on Marchessault? Why didn't he pick up his stick? I said, Joaquin, stop using logic and reason and common sense and quit defending goalies.
That's the power play goal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And a change by the Oilers. All 4 guys went off. Heads up play by Juicy Saros to catch him kind of not sleeping, but they were.
But it was the long change,
too. It was the long change, yeah.
Yeah.
So kudos to Juicy Saros on that one. And we said it last night, like this game could have been 3-4 goals more for the Oilers if it wasn't for Juicy Saros.
He was good.
Yeah.
Really solid. Let us know your thoughts. 780-218-9999. The Oilers now 2-3 heading into Dallas. The power play 0-4 last night. It's now 1-13 on the season. The PK still not great. Let's see here. The power play is currently sitting at 28th in the NHL at 7.7%. And the PK, I have to scroll to the bottom, 31st at 57.9%. Better than one team, the Colorado Avalanche, that are rocking a 54.6% efficiency penalty kill right now, which is crazy. It's still relatively early, but now we're going to start to get into things sorting themselves out. Like the high goals against averages for goalies that only have like 1 or 2 starts and the low save percentages. Like that's starting to quell a bit. But the special teams are an issue right now.
They are, and that power play's got to get going. And we talked about it a lot last night, where is there an appetite to make 1 or 2 tinkers to that top unit? Or the big one was, do you start giving more ice time to the second power play unit because you finally have the horses there where you can put out a good second power play?
Let's talk about that.
Sure.
I think what would have more of a chance of happening is power play 2 being utilized more.
Yeah.
Sooner. As opposed to, like people were suggesting yesterday on the postgame show, put Jeff Skinner in Ryan Nugent-Hopkins' spot. That's what was being recommended. And then I think someone even said, why not Corey Perry where Zach Hyman is? And I said last night, I'm like, well, you're replacing a guy that had 100 points 2 seasons ago, still had a pretty good season. What did he have, like 70-something points last year, Nugent-Hopkins? And then you're telling me you're going to replace you're going to put Corey Perry in for a guy who had 54 last year?
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to do that. I understand in the moment, trying to solve a problem, you go, what's the best solution? Take that guy and that guy who played well, Skinner and Perry, helped generate offense in the first 5 games of the season. Put them in for the guys that are not in Nugent-Hopkins and Hyman. I totally understand that rationale, but I think what's more likely to happen is power play 2 getting more of an opportunity. They simplify. They don't do the slingshot going into the zone on zone entries. They don't overpass the puck or get too cute. It's like pass, shot, crash the net. Pass, shot, crash the net.
And you know what's cool? You know what's kind of crazy too is because the second unit rolls out with 2 defensemen, it's a little bit of a different setup, which the other team probably doesn't prepare for as much. They're preparing for that top unit of the Oilers. So, and that's what we were saying yesterday, where it's like you don't make the change, permanent, right? You just within the game. Like yesterday, after the 5-on-3, I would have said, okay, the next power play, the second unit starting. I don't care if you guys are fresh or not, whatever, because they were having a hard time getting the zone. Once they were set up, they weren't doing much. So for me, that's the perfect time within the game to say, you know what, guys, and that's a message sent. You already said they sent a message to Skinner.
Yes.
It's worked. They sent it to Draisaitl. It worked.
Yep.
So how about you send the message to all 5 guys on the power play? That's 1 for 13 on the season.
Ballsy.
Yes. But I don't think, they would get fired up. I don't think it's that big because it's like you guys are not rolling. You guys have scored 1 goal. Mm-hmm. Go with the second unit. Let's see what and imagine they score. Then you're like, hey, now you're competing. Like, let's go.
I like the competition idea. I know who wins ultimately in that battle, let's call it. Power play 1. But they got that 5-on-3 for 16 seconds. The line was out there for a minute 44, obviously, and they get the timeout. Don't really do anything with it.
No, Bouchard was on for 4 minutes. That shouldn't happen.
And the second penalty happened because of a Bouchard giveaway in his own zone.
Yes, which was hilarious. There was like 2 giveaways. He was the most calm guy I've ever seen trying to get the puck because he lost it twice just because he was just kind of like, and that's Evan Bouchard. We all know it. Like, I'm not going to.
It's not good, though. He's a slow starter. Yeah. I think it's 3 years in a row now. We're talking about it here in the studios. We're like, is it just he is a slow starter? Is it the contract coming up? What are the factors around this? And I'm like, I think he's just a slow starter.
Well, right now it's good for his contract for the Oilers because he's not. We're only 5 games.
We're 5 games in here.
Do you think Skinner's a slow starter too, Stuart?
No, because I think he's been good the last 2 games.
Okay.
I stand by that. I mean, the first game, nobody was good. They just got shelled by Winnipeg, and Skinner wasn't good. The team was sloppy. Joaquin says something interesting, and he brought it up last year, and I stand by because it popped up early this season already. He goes, I watch them for the first 5 to 10 minutes, and if they make tape-to-tape passes early in the game, I know they're going to play decently well and have a good chance of winning.
And they played well yesterday.
They did that last night. I was like, oh, good tape-to-tape.
Because Cass made a good point. He goes, did they look faster? And we all agreed, yes. Why? Because they were making crisp passes. They were getting the puck out of the zone quick.
Yes.
It's not that they got faster.
It's not that
2 days.
Hey, David Pelche took them through a session of power skating. No. Yeah. They were moving the puck efficiently and responsibly.
Yeah.
They played a good road game.
They did.
They didn't try to jazz it up or anything like that, outside of maybe the power play. But that was just, you could watch that game. And I didn't really think that the Nashville Predators were that threatening for extended periods of time. I said it last night on the post-game show. I stand by that. I was watching clips of the game last night when I got home, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think the Preds were that threatening last night.
No, they were not. They were not. Let's ask our listeners.
780-218-9999. Get into the nasty chat as well.
Would you rather see the Power Play 1 tinkered with in terms of personnel, or would you want to see Power Play 2 get more ice time if they're not going? Can be both. Got to be one or the other. I think you and I are both agreeing that give a little bit more ice time to PP2.
I would give PP2. I think that's the most likely thing to happen as well.
And it'd probably be Skinner, Arvidsson, Perry with Darnell Nurse and Matthias Ekholm.
Correct.
And for me, the best, you got to say it, 5 games in, the best 3 forwards, Connor Brown, Corey Perry, and Jeff Skinner.
Yeah.
I might put
followed behind closely by Adam Henrique and Connor Brown.
Arvidsson's
been good.
Yeah. He's not producing, but he's getting in there. He's mucking it up, and I've really liked him. And the big boys are starting to get going. Connor McDavid scored a big goal yesterday after Marchessault tied it, and that was an important goal for the team as well. So the big boys finding their groove. I think Hyman and Nuge, you want a little more from.
Yes, 100%, of course.
They haven't done much 5 games in so far, but that third line's been good. I've really liked Corey Perry. I always like Janmark. I think he puts in an honest effort every game. Podkolzin, not doing much for me. I know he might lead the Oilers in hits, but Tommy, he's not really standing out at this point.
No, and I mean, I watched him in the preseason's one thing, but I was like, what is this guy's? You kind of pick up on little traits of each player when you watch them, and I'm like, is he a guy that can provide offense because he has like a knack for the offensive zone, or does he just like bang and crash and every now and then buries a garbage goal? And I think it's more that because like you watch him with the puck and you're like, he looks like a grinder to me, 4th liner. He gets physical.
Mm-hmm.
Like he skates well. I don't mind his style of play, but if I were to watch Podkolzin and say I expect this guy to score 15 to 20 goals, I think that would be a crazy statement.
I didn't like him up there in the top 6. I think they'll shift that eventually.
Sure.
But for me, Podkolzin's probably the first guy to sit out a game when they say it's Noah Philp, whoever they call up or whatever. But, I mean, if you keep winning, there's no need to take him out. But for me, you got to see a little bit more. And I'm starting to see why now Vancouver kind of soured on him a bit. He's out there. Does show some physicality, like you said, skates well. Like you can see there's offense there, but there's just no production.
I don't see any offense there.
Okay, no, but I mean in terms like he can make a good pass. Like he's got
he has skill.
He has the skill. Sorry, that's
Absolutely
probably a better way to say it. But he's really not bringing much. I don't think anyone that's watched the Oilers for the first 5 games can say Vasily Podkolzin's been impressive. He hasn't. He's just been kind of meh. Like
Took
he's
that
out
penalty
there
yesterday. Okay, we've got text coming in regard to the question you threw out. Like, what would you rather see? A tweak to the personnel on Power Play 1, like Hernan was saying, or would you just like to see Power Play 2 get more of an opportunity, maybe half of a penalty, and instead of the like 20 to 30 seconds that they might be getting?
because
right
we
now.
both agree it's going to come around eventually.
We think so. I mean, they're at 7%, so 1 for 13 is not going to cut it. Let's go to a few of these here. I saw Dr. Nutsy Nielson says, I like that Power Play 2 got about a full minute towards the end rather than the 25 seconds they typically get. Yes, and I don't blame Glenn Gulutzan and Chris Knobloch for putting them out there. And after Power Play 1 didn't give you much. Robin says, imagine starting with Power Play 2, then hitting them hard with Power Play 1, causing turmoil for the PK. I'd like to see how that looks. Yeah, maybe flip them. But I think that's a kind of a ballsy move. If you start with Power Play 2, like you've got best player in the world, top 5 player in the world, 50-goal scorer, 100-point guy a couple years ago, and a defenseman that had 80 points the year prior, and you're like, I'm going to make these guys wait for a minute.
But just imagine the PK guys on Dallas tomorrow. They're first Power Play, Arvidsson, Perry,
and Darnell Nurse.
They're probably more like, oh, man, what are we going to do? Like,
Yeah.
Because it's a different... I just think it's funny. Yeah.
That would be funny, though. C-Run says, the Oilers' power play has many looks. If you have Power Play 2 getting more minutes, it is harder to defend. So maybe kind of going towards what you were suggesting there. What else?
Rob says, I would give PP2 more time, but does that hurt the confidence of PP1? No, it should be a kick in the butt. And who cares if it hurts their confidence?
Wake up. Dig in, as number 97 said.
This one from Hampton Steve. PP1 will figure it out, but in the meantime, PP2 should go from a myth to a reality. Yeah, I'd say that. And Jason and Leduc, the big boys were disinterested and moped through the first 3 games. And the vets on the 3rd and 4th line said, screw this, and got the team energized. Now they're playing with more desire. Barry last year, like a dog buries a bone, and then learn from it, get over it, and get on with it. That's a good point. This team has been willed to some wins here by the bottom 6 and some good old-fashioned fights as well. So, yeah, the big boys are getting hot, though.
Good point with the fight. Darnell Nurse drops him with McCarron. McCarron's a big boy. Darnell Nurse is a big boy. It looked like McCarron had him with the jabs, and then you could see Darnell grabbing his hand, and then eventually Darnell started just like
it's just
wrangling him. And then I thought that gave them a spark. That's the second game in a row where a fight gives them a spark. And like to those that are like, oh, there shouldn't be fighting in hockey, get it out of the game. No, it has an effect on the team. Ask any player that has played, and they're like, oh my God, yeah, like you get riled up for it. And that's 2 games in a row where I think it has boosted the Oilers and helped spur them on a little bit and given them a little gusto. So that was a good point. And that was a crucial moment in the game where I don't think the Oilers were playing bad at all at really any point. It was just like, well, a little spark here, and it's nice to see Nurse get feisty too.
For sure. And for him, I think it helped him too, because the first goal, he lost the puck, but he was playing well, and he played well after the fight. But I feel like that fight even got him going a little bit more. And then tomorrow, who's going to fight for the Oilers? Who should get him going right off the hop, right off the face-off, Tom? Don't waste any time.
Who would Matthias Janmark?
Hey, he wanted to go in the what game was
He
it?
had a couple fights last year.
Yeah. He can throw.
I remember asking
He's not
him,
afraid.
Did you fight before? He's like, I don't know.
I'm gonna pick
don't
Pod
think so.
Colson to fight.
I think he would muck it up, honestly. I think he really would. Yodes via the nasty chat says, can we get some Rico on power play too? I think they sub him in. There's been a few rotations at practice where he ends up on power play too, but he's like the sub, I guess, would be the best way to describe it on power play too. And I think that's a good option as well.
We all need a little Rico in our life.
Evidently. Evidently. That was a great line. Good for him. He's a good guy, too. Good hockey player, good guy, and he's been playing well for this team thus far. Dusty with the update in the nasty chat, just for everybody out there. Yes, we've been dealing with provider issues for the last 24-plus hours here at EST. Out of our hands. Dusty says, good show today, boys. Just about to take off to Vancouver. Internet guy is coming to clean things up this afternoon.
Perfect.
You know what's good, too, is Gager used to be one. And he went in the back room behind the studio here, and he's like, this could be better. Actually, there's some little things here, this, and this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, you see this little piece here and this component? You need the signal to be, you can't have too much signal coming in, and you can't have too weak of a signal coming. You need that sweet spot. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm following you. And he's like, well, this thing boosts it. This thing shouldn't be here. We've got 8 extensions. We've got this many businesses in the building. He's like, I wish I had my tools here with me. So I would love to see Joaquin, when the guy comes here from our provider, go back there and oversee what he does.
Oh, it'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. I
Just,
see what you did
just
there.
watching.
Very good. Oh, I didn't think of that.
Just annoy him.
Just that would be awesome. And why didn't you have your tools with you, Gager? I'm just kidding. So we've got those issues being sorted out. We apologize. It out of our hands. The provider has been dealing with some issues in this part of the city. All right. It's the Oil Stream brought to you by Boston Pizza. All right. Which element of yesterday's game do you want to get to? Because I think we kind of hit on special teams, hit on the spark. We talked about the goaltending a little bit.
I like this one maybe we can go off this one from Mohammed. It says, I don't like RNH down the middle for this team, boys. 97 and 29 on the same line isn't sustainable, especially against the Dallas Stars. Spread the wealth. I generally agree with that. I like when they're on separate lines,
Same.
but with 2 straight wins, I don't think Chris Knoblauch's going to change much for tomorrow.
I could see it changing.
Just for matchups?
Matchups, balancing.
Yeah.
Maybe you feel like these guys kind of have a bit going here. Like that goal that McDavid scored last night, really nice. Good puck control, nice play. He redirects it, picks up his own rebound after it gets blocked.
And he was
just
pumped.
absolutely buries it. Yeah, and you can see the fire.
The fire.
With McDavid being pumped up for that first goal of the season. Draisaitl a little bit better, obviously, last night compared to what we saw against Philadelphia. I think in a situation like tomorrow afternoon against Dallas, where they're coming at you in wave after wave with a pretty solid lineup. We saw them all playoffs, obviously. I think that balanced attack from an Oilers standpoint would be the way to go. Fight fire with fire, if you will. And I don't mind Nugent Hopkins at center. He's been a center the majority of his career. I understand where Mo's coming from, though, because he's not a driver. He's a complementary center. He dishes the puck, but I think he's better suited now in his career and more effective on the wing. But he can play center, which is a good thing to have. Like, remember Adam Henrique was traded for, we thought he'd be a winger? Well, he's the third line center now.
Yeah, and he's doing excellent. And you make a good point. I think RNH, he's fine at center, but I think his offense dips at center.
Yeah, the responsibility thing takes away from his offensive prowess, I guess. And, there's some people that are like, well, he doesn't have any. But, he's still got it. And
just an update from Dallas. So Sam Steele's questionable for this is all for tomorrow. Okay. Brandon Smith is probable. Tyler Seguin and Matt Dumba will not play. So a bit of a break there for the Oilers.
Sure, take advantage. Just great. Take advantage of it. So we'll see how that goes. So you said Sam Steele,
questionable,
who's become their fourth line center, a reliable one, local product. No Dumba, who they signed in the offseason, and then Tyler Seguin. Even though he's older, he's been banged up the last few years, is still an effective player when he's out there. Those are 3 regulars, impact players out of the lineup. We'll see if the Oilers can hand the Stars their second consecutive loss. The Stars losing to Washington yesterday kind of surprised me.
Yeah, I think it's one of those, you started 4-0, you're playing a team that you're better than, but maybe it was just an off night. They didn't have it. Trap game, as we like to call them, this early in the season. I feel like it's that because it was still close. What was it, 3-2 or 4-2? Something like that. So I think it was just one of those games where they had a little bit of a letdown. Maybe they didn't have the juice after 4 straight wins.
The juice? I like that. All right, we got this text comes in from Hampton Steve. Hampton Steve, by the way, I had a couple of goofs. I went back and listened to the show. I said stood the fort instead of held the fort or stood tall when I was talking about Pickard yesterday. I was like, you idiot. And then Hampton Steve also corrected my Steven Stamkos history. I forgot that they went to the Cup final in 2015. I had a couple of goofs last night. I'm like, oh, wake up, Tom. Anyway, Hampton Steve says, any word if the Oilers stuck around Nashville to do some early season, quote-unquote, team bonding on Broadway? Did they fly straight to Dallas post-game? As far as I know, that would be get out of Nashville straight to Dallas. I'm just verifying. Yeah, they're already on the ice in Dallas right now at the Dr. Pepper Center.
No partying for the boys.
No partying. Yeah, that kind of sucks because the only way they could have gotten the quote-unquote team bonding Hampton Steve was alluding to was if they flew out right after the game on Tuesday against Philly.
Yeah.
Obviously, that didn't happen. They flew out Wednesday. And, I mean, you shouldn't go out the day before a game. It does happen. But actually, I was talking about this the other day with some former players, and they're like, yeah, these guys now, they don't really go out as much. And when they do, it's when there's a day off. So they're smarter about it. There's a few that probably sneak away, but for the most part, it's much, much tamer than it used to be. Ask Joaquin. He'll tell you.
Nashville's definitely on the bucket list.
It is great, and it looks like they've done so much growth around downtown Nashville, and it is a fun city. Yes, you can get caught up in it. Yes, it could be like Vegas for players. There's a lot of temptation, but if you're responsible, you can handle it properly. And I think for the most part, from watching last night, I think they handled it just fine and did not have any extracurricular team bonding activities on Broadway, as Hampton Steve was asking about.
I love those questions.
So do I, but they're valid because sometimes these guys go out. I remember, I'll tell the story. Like, I remember we were in Anaheim, and Dustin Penner was on the team at the time. We went out, the media guys went out, and we ended up down the strip. It was in Newport Beach, and we invited one of the PR guys, and we're like, "Hey, we're going here. You want to come join us?" He's like, "I'm there right now with a couple players. Do not come to this bar." And we're like, "Oh my god!" So we're like, "Fine." We went to the bar across the street, had a good time, and then the PR guy texts us. He's like, "All right, you guys can come on. We don't care." Some of the guys left. Some guys are still here, and they said, "Bring the boys down." We're like, "Okay." So we end up at this bar across the street in Newport Beach, and a couple of the guys on the team were still there, ripping it up, having a great time. One of them might have been behind the bar pouring shots for everybody and drinks. And we stayed until, I think, like 3 o'clock. Go back the next day. They have no morning skate, just an availability. The player that was pouring the beverages was being interviewed, and he had the sniffles, and he looked and sounded tired. And one of the media members said, "Hey, do you have a cold? You must not be feeling well." And he looks at me, and I look at him, and I'm like, "I didn't say anything." And he goes, yeah, I've been fighting something." And he goes, "Oh, what did you do? Hang out with your family? They're in town?" And he goes, "Yeah, hung out with the family."
Yeah.
And he looks at me again. I'm like, "I didn't say anything. Yeah. I'm just as guilty as you are." And that player ended up scoring 2 goals that night, including the game winner.
Wow. But
that was like 13 or 14 years ago.
Snars Tax says, "I think these guys want a cup more than a good drunk story." Well, yeah, of course, but when in Rome.
Yeah, but it goes back to what Hampton Steve's talking about, team bonding. Like, they just didn't have time to do it. And they do want a cup.
We have an update from Oilers practice.
Please.
Courtesy of Paige Martin.
Paige Martin. She's excellent. Oilers TV.
So Janmark skating on the line with Nugent, Hopkins, and Arvidsson. I don't like that.
That's interesting.
Podkolzin skating with Ryan and Perry.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then obviously Skinner and starters net. So that right there tells you that the big boys are staying together.
Yeah.
Third line staying together, and you're going to have a shift. Podkolzin and Janmark.
Okay. You're not...
I like Janmark, Tom, but he's not a top 6 guy. He's not offensive. He doesn't have that skill. His strong suits are for the bottom 6. That's why I don't like Podkolzin there either, if I'm being frank. Like, and I know, what is it, Enrique Brown, Skinner? Yes,
yeah.
Right? Like, I still want to see Skinner in the top 6. I know they're having some success on that line, but Skinner's far too talented. I just wish they would just go back to that. And they probably will.
I was just going to say, how long do these lines last? A period?
Well, because yesterday they lasted the whole game. They were playing well.
But they had a good game.
Yeah, so just a few shakeups. Yeah, Mark Podkolzin and switch spots, and that's about it.
All right, there you go. There's your update. Your thoughts on that, 780-218-9999. Text us. Would you like to have seen something different, perhaps? And then get into the nasty chat. This is the Oil Stream, brought to you by Popeyes, launching boneless wings, continuation to their bone-in wings platform. Obviously, delicious, delicious, all-white boneless wings. And the regular wings are the big breaded ones. Are fine. The signature hot isn't too hot, so I'm good with those. And then my favorite is definitely the honey garlic and barbecue there.
So if I would get the signature hot, I'd probably get a double dose. Because I like them spicy.
Yeah. Well, you are the Latino heat.
Hampton Steve's chirping you about your Stamkos history.
I apologize. And then I had bad math, too. I think it was it Phyllis? Or Twitter Mary, actually.
Twitter Mary,
was
yeah.
like, Tom, 2008 to 2024 is 16 years, not 14. I goofed.
Yeah.
Boys have their goof-ups on the Reed Wilkins show. I had a couple last night on the post-game show, which was a lot of fun. We were down at Hudson's White Avenue. Huge shout-out to the crew there, Connor and everyone. And then we'll be live on location tomorrow, Hudson's Bourbon Street, 2 o'clock start for the Oilers and Stars. We are on the air at 1, and I'll be down at Bourbon Street. You're going to come down and watch the game with me?
Probably.
Okay, good.
Get some lunch.
Have some lunch. I've got some GCs, and they have some game day specials, as always. Yesterday was all-day happy hour.
Nice. How's the crowd there?
Really good.
Yeah?
Really good.
Thursday
VR
night?
Montenegro was the lone nasty that came out, but then met a few others
Nice.
that came by and said, and I was talking to the bartenders there, and they're like, man, everybody, like, now people, when they come, they're like, they know EST, whereas last year we were just starting out.
Yeah.
They'd be like, oh, what is this? And we'd be like, well, we used to be 1260, and, we got shut down, so we started a new one. But they said they're getting a lot of good feedback, which is great. We're going to have a lot of fun down at Hudson's this year. We're also going to be at Boston Pizza Westgate a few games each month.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you a question.
Okay, go for it.
Coach Mike says, how much longer would you have 97 and 29 on the same line?
I'd have them off the same line tomorrow if I was coaching, but I'm...
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I get why you go to them at times, but I think the team is just more balanced and more deadly when Draisaitl and McDavid are centering their own line. And we might see it tomorrow depending on the start, on what the score is early on. And so these lines might stick, they might not. But, yeah, and we see this every season, Tom. The coach goes to them for 4, 5, 6 games, and then the switch is back. And I think the switch will come once they lose a game again. Could be tomorrow, could be a couple games from now, but I think the switch is eventually going to happen. And I understand why people get frustrated with it.
I like balance in a lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, depending on the situation in the game, say you're down late, then you load up. You shorten the bench. All that stuff. Like,
and especially tomorrow, if
me,
Dombud's out, then you're playing a younger guy. Your pairings are a little different. So now you have to worry about not just Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl on one line, but you have to worry about 2 lines.
Right.
I would make that switch, but that's what's being reported down at Oilers practice today in Dallas. So we just got to run with it, and hopefully the Oilers get out to another quick start and can get a lead, and then you don't have to worry too much about the lines, and you can just roll all four and get some good balance there. But like I said, I think eventually we will see them split up. It happens every year. We talk about this every year, Tom.
Yeah, we do. And it's fun.
Yes.
I have no problem with it at all. I'm just looking at some Stars updates. We're talking about the lineup. Hernan brought it up. No Dumba tomorrow. Sam Steele and Tyler Seguin as well. And then I'm looking at some quotes from Pete DeBoer. And Pete DeBoer said on Tuesday he didn't want to talk about the power play until after 10 games. But then he did break that silence about the power play after their loss in Washington yesterday. He says, it's time to execute. We've got to get a power play goal in a game like that. Of course, the Stars losing to the Caps yesterday, and the Stars power play, Nanso, with all that firepower, this is a good reminder that, this is early part of the season and teams do struggle, like the Oilers are on the power play. Dallas is one spot behind Edmonton, 29th in the league at a whopping 5.9% on the power play. Their PK, though, is at 94.7%. I want to see their opportunities on the power play so far this season.
What's their PK again?
94.7%. Doesn't matter. The Oilers' power play is not doing anything. I'm kidding. I say that facetiously.
And then 1 for 17 on the power play.
That's what they are? Okay.
Holy smokes.
You thought the Oilers' power play was bad.
What's going to happen tomorrow?
I don't know. Something's got to break. I think we're in for a good game. I honestly do. I think it's going to be a good
It's always fun in Dallas. Well, I shouldn't say it's always fun for Oiler fans, but it's always a good game, and I think the Oilers have kind of matched them now, because before it was always the butt kicking by the Dallas Stars, but now the Oilers have won a few games there. It's always close. Seems like it's always a one-goal game where we get some overtime. I think they went to overtime last year early on in the season, but it's going to be a fun game. I always like the Oilers going up against some of the top teams in the league and see where they stack up.
What's your perception of games in Dallas now? Because remember, for years and years and years, the Oilers were so bad anytime they went to Reunion Arena, American Airlines Center. But now I'm just going over the history recently in Dallas. Got it right here. The Oilers, I think, have been much better in Dallas the last couple of years. They've won 2 of the last 3 in Dallas.
Yeah.
And then you go back the last 10. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, they've won 4. They're 4-6 in their last 10 visits to Dallas.
That's a lot better than previous times. So yeah, I like I said, I think they've finally kind of turned that over where they just couldn't win there, and they're going toe to toe. And even the games they lose, they're not blowouts; they're 1-goal games. So I really like this matchup the last 2-3 years, because I think the Oilers are finally over that hump of playing poorly in Dallas and afternoon games. That's still a bit of an issue, the afternoon games, but the Oilers are they're one of the better teams in the league, contending for a Stanley Cup. So tomorrow I'm expecting no different. Am I expecting a blowout win on either side? No, I still think it's going to be close. And for me, it's a toss-up. You got 2 good goalies. You got D-Core. I'd give Dallas the edge to the D-Core, but up front,
100%.
You got to go Edmonton. But Dallas is not far off. You look at that top line. That's one of the best top lines in the league, if you ask me.
I'm not going to disagree with that, because I agree with it, obviously. 4-3 in the last 7 visits to Dallas is the Oilers' record. A couple of those wins coming overtime. The last time they went there, though, they got destroyed. April 3rd, 5-0. All-time in Dallas since they moved the franchise from Minnesota, 12-37-2.
Wow.
With 2 ties since 93-94. Regular season.
Yeah. No, they've ran the Oilers show there for many, many years. I'm just happy now they're making that record a little more respectable. A ways to go, Tom, but still pretty good.
In Dallas in the playoffs. This is crazy. This is they won. Oh,
Statue.
I have regular and play. Okay, just playoffs here.
Statue Boss says, not sure I can shake the PTSD from decades of buck
I
kickings
know.
in Dallas. My mind always goes to automatic loss. I think many are with you, Statue Boss, because it's true. Like, you just knew when you went in there you're going to lose. It's like when Calgary goes to Anaheim, and there's always that. Every team has that one city where they can't win. And
the Oilers were terrible in Arizona and Minnesota, too.
That's right.
I remember, there's 24 games in a row where the Coyotes at the time, before they became Utah HC, took points from Edmonton. It was ridiculous, and they weren't even good.
And with Arizona, it wasn't just in Arizona. They'd come here and beat
take
them.
points.
Yeah.
It was bad. Edmonton is 8-13 lifetime in Dallas in the postseason, with 2 of those wins coming last year on the road.
A series, Tom, that no one outside of Edmonton gave Oilers any hope in.
I understand why.
I didn't, though, because I thought Edmonton, especially after getting through that grueling series with Vancouver, I was like, I think people are going to sleep on Edmonton now, thinking that they're done. They barely got by Shilovs because that was the narrative. And then they went into Dallas game 1 and took it. And I was like, okay, the Oilers are going to win this series. Like, you just felt that confidence getting through Vancouver. I was probably more scared of Vancouver than I was Dallas.
Really?
Yeah, because Vancouver never went away, man. Never.
They were feisty.
Like,
They
you
were
could be
really
up 4-0
feisty.
and it'd be 4-4 with a minute to go in the third. You're like, what just happened? Like, I thought Vancouver was game in the playoffs. They were tough.
They were solid, man. The games that they like pulled out in the last minute and a half in Nashville or against Nashville, that should have been a series Nashville won.
Yeah, because wasn't it Sissons who hit the empty netter, and then they come back and tied and win it overtime?
Yep.
Yeah.
They got heavily outshot in that series, and then all of a sudden Vancouver had life and was this upstart team, and they gave the Oilers fits. I don't know, man. Playoffs are a gauntlet.
I didn't want, like, when that series was going on, I wanted Nashville to win so bad because Vancouver truly, you were scared of them because...
Well, they swept the season series against
They swept the season series. Talkett gets those guys motivated, and then you saw that first game when the Oilers blew the lead, right? And you're like, holy, these guys ain't going to go away. And it ended up going 7. And even in game 7, they're up 3-0, and you're sweating the last 7 minutes. Like, holy smokes.
Right. Oh, I love this. A couple texts coming in to the inbox. 780-218-9999. And it's here on the Oil Stream, Gazzola and Salas with you. Dusty on his way to Vancouver to call CFL action this weekend. Uncle Jesse says, why is it always an afternoon game in Dallas?
That's a good point.
I think that is probably a Stars thing because teams, they don't have a ton of persuasion over the schedule, but they can ask for certain things, and the league will tend to try to provide. And I think the Stars probably, especially in the early parts of the season when there's college football, Dallas Cowboys football, baseball's winding down, depending on how the Rangers are doing. They want Saturdays, no Sundays, right?
Yeah.
Especially at home. They want early games, maybe, college around there. It might be later games. I don't know. SMU's down there. And then Friday night football in high school is a big thing as well. So I think that might have something to do with it. And then you build that tradition of, all right, weekends, afternoon games, especially in the fall. But yeah, there always seems to be a lot of afternoon games in Dallas. And I think that's just something that the Stars probably like. And
Out of the 97, just all heart. They would grind it out. They had some guys that would just battle, like Luke Richardson, Bobo Mironov. Like, they had a bunch of beauties. But it was a different time, Tom.
It was. The 1 year where you thought they might be able to beat Dallas was 2001. Edmonton finished 6th in the Western Conference that year. Gager was on that team.
Okay.
And that team had a nice stretch in the season. I think they won like 8 in a row at one point. And it was like Doug Waite, Bill Guerin, I believe. And then they traded Guerin that year.
For Anson Carter.
So Mike Comrie was on the team. And you thought, okay, maybe if Edmonton's going to pull this off and beat the Dallas Stars, because they played each other 5 years in a row in the playoffs, this would be the year. And Edmonton gave the Stars a good run, dropped it in 6, which sucked if you were an Oilers fan.
Because, like, just go back to, like, the late 90s, like, and just compare the rosters. Like, the Oilers weren't even close.
No.
But they had heart, man. Like, Dougie Wade, Billy Guerin, Ryan Smith. Everything after that was just...
Rem Murray.
Rem the Gem, Rosie, Mike Greer. Who else was on those teams? Cherkosky for 1 year, I think, was there.
I was there for a couple years.
You had Mush.
Yes.
Toddy Marchant.
Yeah. Dan McGillis.
Drew Bannister. Bobby Dallas played in the year after with
Yes,
the
he did.
Colorado. The best tan I've ever seen on a hockey player.
Bobby Dallas.
Yeah, so it was different, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Dallas has always kind of had their number. And it was funny because in some of those series, it wasn't Modano and Lettinen and Zubov.
It was Benoit Hogue.
Benoit Hogue or the grumpy old the old guy line with
Richard Mathvichuk, Brent Severin.
Guy Carbonneau, Mike Keane, and who is the other guy?
Wasn't Kirk Muller on there?
Kirk Muller, like the old guy line would just destroy the Oilers.
Yeah. Well,
Good
tough times.
I love talking 90s Oilers.
Yeah. Jason says the fans in Dallas always seem to be into games, standing and cheering a lot. They are good fans. They're also pretty knowledgeable hockey fans. The Stars have done a really good job of creating a lot of grassroots programs. They built arenas around Texas. And you'll talk to like Sean Bell or Matt Cassian who played in Houston, and they'll be like, no, like hockey has a home in Texas. Like,
Isn't Wyatt Johnson from there? No. Let me look that up.
there are some players that have started to come out of Texas. They have some like good travel teams, obviously super expensive and all that, but the Stars have helped lay the groundwork for
No, he's Canadian. Why am I thinking Wyatt
a
Johnson?
really good hockey program.
Never mind.
Yeah.
There's a guy on the Dallas who's I can't remember. It was not Wyatt Johnson, obviously. Chris Run says Chimera Marchand and then Smith Peckham. In the late 90s, Chimera wasn't on those teams.
Yeah, he was. He got traded.
Not in 97, 98.
I think he
though.
came in like early 2000s.
Yeah. Same with Peckham was way later than that. though.
Theo Peckham came way later. Dean McCammond.
Dean McCann.
There's a good one. Al texting in says, guys, don't forget Skinner has a historically bad save percentage in that Vancouver series. It was slightly over 800. Even if he played as bad as regular season Jack Campbell, the Oilers win in 5, maybe 6. Al.
Yeah, sure. He was really good in Game 6 when they clinched
Yes, he was.
because the Oilers were awful.
Oh, they just held on for dear life.
I remember watching that game. I'm like, Dallas must be pissed right now.
They
The
should
Oilers
be.
are not doing anything.
Edmonton had like 10 shots that game.
That's
How motivated do you think the Stars are going to be tomorrow because Edmonton knocked them out of the playoffs and was supposed to be a dream season for the Stars? They put together a hell of a year last year.
I think very motivated, coming off a loss to Washington as well. So I think it's going to be a hell of a game. I thought the same thing going into yesterday. I thought Nashville was going to be motivated, just because they're 0-3. But I'm expecting
They didn't
the
have
same.
much jam.
No, they were not good. Stamkos struggling to find his groove there.
At what point in the game does Rope Hintz sneak behind the D, get a seam pass through the middle, and has a breakaway on Stuart Skinner? First, second, or third period?
I'm going to say late first.
It's going to happen.
It always happens with Rupe.
Man, first of all, he's a great player. Secondly, he's fast, and he can always pick his spot, and he can tell when the Oilers are sleeping and on their heels on the back end.
The only knock on Rupe Hintz, he can't stay healthy, man.
It's too bad. Great player, though.
And sorry, can I ask you about
Yeah.
Robertson? Like, he had that awesome year 2 years ago, took a step back last year.
Yeah.
Dealt with some injuries. This year, he's off to a slow start again. I don't want to say one-hit wonder because I think he's going to be a 20-goal scorer for many years, maybe 30. But was that 1 year just kind of a one-off?
Like an anomaly?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to think it is. I think he'll bounce back.
Okay.
I really do. I don't know if he's... What did he get that year? Did he get 100 points?
Let me look it up right now.
But he had a monster season. I think he's going to be able to be an 80-point guy.
Okay, so 109 2 years ago.
Yeah.
46. So he had back-to-back 40-goal seasons. 41 in 21-22, 46 in 22-23. Last year...
That's not a fluke.
No, last year he played every game again, and he went from 109 points to 80 in only 29 goals.
That's still a good season.
Yeah. Okay.
I think he'll bounce back. I think he's an 80-plus point player for the next 10 years.
Yeah, he's a good
They
player.
got him and Johnson in the same draft, did they not? And Ottinger?
So he's 2017.
Yeah.
Let's look at Wyatt Johnson. I just looked him up because I thought he was American, but I was completely off. No, I don't. Wyatt Johnson wasn't
Or he's more
drafted.
recent.
Says he wasn't drafted.
He was drafted.
Was he?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Because people, remember last year in the playoffs, people were like, why didn't the Oilers draft this guy? He was available. It's
Oh,
like,
that's
no,
right. Yeah. No, so that was the... Why wouldn't it come up?
I don't know. Where are you looking at this?
Hockey DB.
Oh.
2021.
Okay.
Yeah, he was drafted. Let's see here. Where was he?
That was the Borgo year, was it not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wyatt Johnson, 23rd, right after Burgo. So
There you
a
go.
little bit different from 4 years after Robertson. But
Okay.
we get the point.
We get the point. Timber Woodsman, talking about the atmosphere in Dallas, says everyone in there is great except for the glass banger. Idiot, says Timber Woodsman. And then actually Hampton Steve followed that up with saying if they could just mute the mic by the glass banging guy behind the net, then it would make watching games against the Stars a much better experience.
It's almost like they promote him.
I don't like glass banger
No.
person.
Do you think the people around him like him?
I hope not.
They look annoyed.
I would be annoyed. It's stupid. Stop it. Like, or you see the people that stand up to get on camera. Don't. Stop it.
It's like the wave. Stop doing the wave when the game is close.
Got a lot of problems with you people. Yeah. All right. Todd Geck. Any dates this weekend? Tell me. No. We're working all weekend long.
Tommy's busy, guys.
Busy boy. Busy boy. All right. Any final thoughts?
Looking forward to it. Tune in. We'll be on the air at 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show.
Hudson's Bourbon Street. Come on down. I have GCs to give away. I'll buy you a beer. Or maybe help you enjoy your meal. Cut a nice portion off of it.
These two guys, along with Brad Malone.
Brad Malone in for Matt Caston again. Bugsy was great, making his debut as an analyst earlier this week. Stayed up late. Doesn't have to tomorrow. It's going to be fantastic. Cass is off tomorrow. Bugsy in. And Hernan was going to come by and watch the game with us for a little bit.
Probably for the first two periods.
Excellent. Yeah. All right. What's coming up on the next edition of EST Afternoons with you and Joaquin Gage?
Some guy named Sean Bell.
Don't know.
He'll recap the Oilers game. Gager's boss and at K4 Financial and comedian.
Wasn't he hilarious?
Ken Tilley again will come in at 140.
Yeah.
And Sean Shapiro at 220 will break down the Dallas Stars and talk about that power play maybe. And then highlights, lowlights. We got a highlight and a lowlight for the first time on the show, so we're going to have some fun with that. So, yeah, fun show. Keep it locked here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Hernan, Salas, Joaquin Gage, EST Afternoons.
That's coming up next. The Oilers looking for a third straight victory, and we'll see if they can get the job done in Dallas where they have played better. 4 wins in their last 7 visits. The regular season, obviously. And keep this in mind, Oilers fans, as you await tomorrow's afternoon matchup. Dallas is clicking at 5.9% on the power play. So there is worse than the Oilers 1 for 13 mark. All right, that's going to do it for the Oil Stream. Big shout out to Hernan for stepping in for Dusty, who will be back next week. Update, the providers coming in, sending a tech. So things, I think, are running a little bit smoother. Knock on wood, it continues for the rest of the day and the rest of the shows. Big thank you for your patience. Always appreciate it. That's going to do it. Have yourselves a great afternoon. EST Afternoons coming up next. Ciao for now.